This is Jarrod Horak. Welcome to my latest Road to Kentucky Oaks 2023 video in my Oaks Points Race video series. I've covered 7 races in this series so far. My top choices have 3 victories. And then in the last 2 weeks, back-to-back top choice winners. And I also had the trifecta in the Goldenrod and the exacta in the Demoiselle Stakes. Let's see if I can have more success. In this video, I'm going to be covering the Starlet from Los Alamitos Race Course. Now, if you're interested in my full card analysis, I'm actually on a full card break right now, but my full cards will resume with the beginning of the Santa Anita Park Winter Meet on December 26th. So go over to the runawayhorse.com on my sales page if you're interested in more information and purchasing my full cards from Santa Anita Park, and they'll run all the way through June of 2023. Now let's talk about the recent winners of the Starlet Stakes. Now, trainer Bob Baffert has dominated this race recently. In 2021, Ida got the job done under Juan Hernandez. And then in 2020, it was Varda. In 2019, it was Bast. And then in 2018, we had Chasing Yesterday. Year before that, Dream Tree. So Bob Baffert definitely been dominating this race. And he does that in the Los Alamitos Futurity as well. So anytime he has a runner in this race, you have to consider them, and he actually has 3 in this year's renewal. So now we will get into the analysis of the Grade 1 Starlet, and it will be Saturday, December 10th, 2022, the Grade 1 $300,000 Starlet Stakes for 2-year-old fillies, traveling a mile and a 16th on the main track with a scheduled post time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a field of 7 this year, and the first Baffert trainee will break from the inside post, and that is Doinitthehardway. And she's still a maiden. If you look at the overall composition of this field, we have 1 runner that has won 2 times, and those 2 wins were in turf routes. We have 5 horses that have 1 victory, and then we have Doinitthehardway, still a maiden. In her career debut against her stablemate, Fast and Shiny, who's also in this race, she dueled, she opened up, and then she was clearly second best that day. And she wasn't the favorite. She was 2-1 there. And then in her second career start, she was the even money favorite. But from post 10, she broke outward. She was hung out wide throughout, sitting in mid-pack. And she was able to pass a few rivals. And she ended up finishing 3rd, beaten 8 lengths. They gave her a little bit of time off from September 11th to November 25th. They stretched her out in distance. And then looking at her pedigree, you can see why she ran well last time. Street Sense the sire. Awesome again, the damn sire. She figured to like 2 turns, and she ran well. Now, Ice Dancing was your 2-5 favorite that day, and Ice Dancing was able to get to the lead. Doinitthehardway chased her hard throughout. She never gave up, and she was well clear of the rest. She gave the winner a little bit of a battle in the stretch, and then it was more than 13 lengths back to the show finisher. So now she's coming back rather quickly. She ran on November 25th. It's now December 10th for this race. So she's coming back rapidly, and they paid $240,000 for her. And she earned a good speed rating last time, and if she can duplicate that speed rating at Los Alamitos, she should be heard from throughout. I would expect that she's probably going to be saving ground, stalking the pace under her new rider, Ramon Vazquez. Number 2, Classymadamoiselle looks outclassed in here. She's 1 for 6 lifetime. She ran 1 time in a stakes race, Grade 2 Sorrento. She was 5th, beaten 9 lengths. Then in her next start, they stretched her out in distance in a race originally scheduled for the turf, September 9th at Del Mar, run at 1 mile. She dueled on the lead, and she lost the lead, and she regained the lead, and then she missed by a nose, and then she was placed first through disqualification. Last time, they tried her in a turf route, and she ended up finishing last in a 7-horse field. So now she's going to be moving back to the main track in her second start after a layoff. They paid $20,000 for this daughter of Malibu Moon. I just think she's just not fast enough on paper. If you look at her speed ratings, her best race was that maiden win, but that speed rating she earned there, not even close to being good enough to win a race like this. Number 3, Faiza. This one is interesting, and for trainer Bob Baffert, this is his second runner in here. Smart Strike is the dam sire, and the sire Gervin, typically Gervin offspring, they sell for about $90,000 on average. This one sold for $725,000, so someone definitely saw something they liked, and right off the bat in her career debut, she was heavily bet, and she looked good winning. She tracked the pace outside. She took over. She won by more than 3 lengths, geared down. The runner-up in there was Lily Poo, and Lily Poo came back and broke her maiden with an okay speed rating at Del Mar last week. So Faiza's won, flattered when that runner-up came back to win, has nothing but upside, and now can she just have 1 6 furlong race and then stretch out in distance and win a Grade 1. But as I mentioned, if you look at this Grade 1, it's more of an entry-level allowance race than it is a Grade 1. And she's obviously a logical contender under Flavien Prat. Flavien Prat won 6 races at Del Mar on closing day last Sunday. As I said, Bob Baffert has settled the winner in this race the last 5 years. Number 4, Fast and Shiny, is your third Bob Baffert trainee. Bernardini is the sire here. They paid $150,000 for this one. She looked good in her career debut. She was 6-1, and she defeated her stablemate Doinitthehardway. She stalked the pace. She won nicely by a length and a half. Second time out, Grade 1 Del Mar debutante. And that was on September 10th. And in that race, she was up on the pace and she weakened to finish 5th, beaten 20 lengths. Her last 2 races were turf routes. She was an even 4th in the Grade 3 Surfer Girl on October 9th, and then November 12th against Optional Claiming Company. She set the pace and she weakened to 6th in a 7-horse field. Pride of the Nile, who's in this race, won that event. So now Fast and Shiny back on the dirt. She should attend the pace under Abel Cedillo. But I think she's up against it because her last 3 races really weren't that competitive. And even if she ran back to her debut, she would have to run even faster than that. Number 5, Uncontrollable, is a late thread in here. This one's a California bred, a daughter of Upstart. And she looked good in her career debut against State Bred Company, 5 furlongs at Del Mar. She rallied from 8th in a 10-horse field. She won going away by 2 lengths. Second time out, it was a State Bred Stakes race at Del Mar, the Generous Portion Stakes. That was on September 5th. And she rallied from last place in an 8-horse field to finish a clear second. The distant show finisher Fun Money came back and won her next start. And then they stretched her out in distance and tried her against Open Company in the Grade 2 Chandelier last time out. And Tell Me No Lies was the winner of that one. And Uncontrollable rallied from the back of the pack to finish a decent second in that race. And she was well clear of the show finisher Justique. Now Justique came back and she won the Desi Arnaz Stakes at Del Mar in her next start. So Uncontrollable under Mike Smith is probably going to be a late threat. She needs some pace help in here. Number 6, Pride of the Nile, is switching surfaces. She had a lot of trouble in her debut. From post 11, she was just forced out. She was so wide early. She couldn't get in and save any kind of ground. She was 36-1 in that race. And that race was the Juvenile Fillies Turf at Del Mar. That was on September 10th. So they debuted her in a stakes race. They probably knew she was going to be a decent one. And she ended up finishing 4th. Not a bad effort at all. Definitely better than looked. And then the winner there came back and won her next start. Pride of the Nile won her next start when she dropped back in a maiden race. That was on October 2nd. And she stalked the pace and she won by a half length in a determined effort. And then she did the same thing in her next start. That was at Del Mar on November 12th. She stalked the pace and she was able to win by a half length for the second time in those 1 mile turf races. So her sire, Pioneer of the Nile, and then Inny Minnie is her dam sire, and then Hard Spun is the dam sire. And Inny Minnie was one that could handle the main track. So her pedigree for the main track looks solid enough. Now, interesting that Juan Hernandez rode her in those back-to-back wins. He also rode Uncontrollable in 2 of her 3 races, including that runner-up finish in the Chandelier. And he also rode Doinitthehardway in 2 of her 3 races, including that clear runner-up finish last time. So looks like he had his options in this race, and he chose Pride of the Nile, the surface switcher. And then finally, number 7, Blessed Touch. Now, she's run 3 times in her career debut. She was off slow in a 10-horse field. She was last early, and she was able to pass half the field. So she split that 10-horse field, beaten 10 lengths, and Doing It the Hard Way was your show finisher that day. Now, second time out at 6 furlongs, much better break. She got to the front. She was able to just widen throughout. She won by more than 8 lengths at 5-1 odds, and she earned a good speed rating that day. I picked her on top in the Desi Arnaz last time at 7 furlongs. I did a video on that race. I thought that she could sit a good early pressing trip, but she kind of got hung out wide there from post 6. She stalked wide. She had a brief lead in the stretch, but Justique had all the momentum, and you could just tell around the far turn that Justique was going to win the race most likely, and she did. She won by more than 2 lengths. But Blessed Touch, after Justique rolled on by, did not give up. She just kept fighting hard to the end. I thought that was a good effort. And if you look at the gallop out as well, Blessed Touch was able to hang in there with Justique, suggesting that maybe this longer distance might be okay for her. She's also a daughter of Gerben, like the morning line favorite in this race. They paid $140,000 for her. Street Boss, the dam sire, Drayden Van Dyke. He's ridden in her last couple starts. including that maiden win. He rides back, and then he's won this race 4 times. He won it for Baffert from 2017 to 2020. So Van Dyke rides well. He knows this Los Alamitos Race Course well, and I would expect that she's probably going to be forwardly placed from that outside post. So there's probably different ways you can go in here. I think the horse with the most upside is Faiza, and I'm going to pick her on top. I said they paid $725,000 for her, and she really looked good in that debut with that geared down win over a next out winner. Flavien Prado on a roll. Bob Baffert dominates this race. So I think she deserves to be the favorite. They supplemented her to this race for $10,000. They also supplemented Uncontrollable to this race for $10,000. But I'm going to go with Faiza on top as my top choice in the Grade 1 Starlet at Los Alamitos Race Course on December 10th. And here's how I'm going to play this race. I'm going to go with the 2 Baffert choices on top as my top 2. So I'm going to make an exacta box with the 1 Doinitthehardway and the 3 Faiza. I'm going to play a trifecta key. I'm going to key Faiza over the 1, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to play a superfecta. I'm going to put the 1, 3, and 7 on in first and second. And then I'm going to use the 5 and 6 Uncontrollable and Pride of the Nile, keying them in third and fourth in the superfecta, thinking that they might be able to pick up the pieces in here, and one of the 3 most likely winners will win it. And then I think that those horses, especially Uncontrollable from off the pace and Pride of the Nile stalking the pace, can get some minor awards. Maybe I'll be able to hit the exacta, trifecta, and superfecta with a little bit of luck. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this content. That will wrap up this video. Now, the next video in this series is going to be the Untappable Stakes at Fairgrounds on December 26th. So it'll be a little while before they run another race in this Road to the Oaks series. But I will be back, and I will be doing my weekly Oaks, and anytime they run the Oaks and Derby points races, I'll be back, and I'll be doing those in video format, and I will be covering next. I'll be doing the Los Alamitos Futurity. That'll be on December 17th. So that'll be next week's video race of the week for the Road to the Derby series. Until I see you next time, good luck at the races.